Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today we're going to talk about low testosterone, specifically the 9 causes of low testosterone. The 9, I would say, the most prevalent causes, because there can be many different causes, but there are 9 prevalent causes, and I'm going to break them down later. But this is a really important conversation because quite often when we're thinking about our identity and who we are and how we show up in the world, mentally, emotionally, what we think about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves, we believe that it is all based upon our experiences. We believe this based upon who we were born to be. We also believe that, a lot of it is in our minds and in our thoughts. But there's a large role that's playing a contributing factor in the background that is biological and biochemical. So when we don't have the balance in our bodies, when we lose that homeostasis, specifically in this case with our hormones, it could literally change who we believe we are, who we think we are, and how we identify with ourselves, okay? And I also think this is a huge and an important conversation, because a lot of times I'm having conversations with men and they start to tell me their problems, and I'm seeing this show up so often, okay? So often. When I say I'm seeing it show up so often, probably 2 to 3 times a week, I get a man to ask me about something on this list, okay? And so I thought it would be pertinent for me to come in here, have the conversation, then we can dive into the comments a little bit later to discuss this issue of low testosterone. Now, in my opinion, it is an epidemic, because when you go back to like the 1980s or 1970s, the average testosterone of a man back in those days was somewhere around 600, 500 to 600, okay? And then as you see us trending into the 1990s, it begins to drop to like 425. And then we trend into the 2000s, and now it's somewhere around 350. And then you're looking at the average testosterone of men today is somewhere around 300, and sometimes even lower, okay? Now, the reason why that's so important is because when you get in that 2 to 300 range, a woman's peak testosterone can be around 200, okay? And the other reason it's so important is you have to understand hormones aren't just these things that are playing a role in the background in terms of just telling our bodies what to do. Our hormones can actually tell us who we are too. And I'll give you a few examples when I start to kind of, go through some of the symptoms of somebody with low testosterone. You can see when your hormones are imbalanced, it changes how you show up in the world. It can literally change you physically, and it can change you mentally, okay? So a lot of times when you're going through some of these struggles, it could be simply because you have a hormonal imbalance that could either be too low, too high, etc. Now, it's a whole nother conversation. I can have this exact same conversation with women too, because sometimes there are women who have imbalances in the direction of estrogen, but then it raises their testosterone and creates certain side effects as well too. But that's for a whole nother conversation. Today, we're going to focus on the fellas and talk about low testosterone in men, because it is literally affecting how men show up, not only in life, but also in relationships, for themselves, etc. Okay. And I had a case where I was working with somebody. When they came to me, they had started testosterone injections, and they were doing everything they could to get their testosterone up. So they knew they had a problem with their testosterone. And they had started the injections. They didn't work. The injections actually sort of backfired, okay? They started producing even more symptoms, okay? We figured out what the cause was, not the symptom, because the low testosterone was only the symptom, okay? The cause of what caused it to be low, that was what we really needed to get to, okay? So once we figured out the cause and we fixed that, then it balanced everything out, something that even the testosterone injections couldn't do, okay? And again, we're gonna get into the causes in just a second. And as I tell you guys, the cause is always, telling you what the actual solution is. I mean, whenever you find a problem in life, the problem tells you what the solution is. And we'll get into that in just a second. But I think it's important to first start with what are the symptoms. So then you can start to identify, there's nothing wrong with me. I just have an imbalance. Okay. I just have a hormonal imbalance. It's not who I am. My biology and my biochemistry are off. They're not balanced. Okay. Now they call low T andropause, or they even call it male menopause when you have low testosterone as well too. Okay. Now here are some of the signs and symptoms. Okay. No, before we get started, let me give you a range so you can understand what is low testosterone, so that when you go in to get your checkup, the next time you get those numbers back, I'm gonna give you a more holistic approach to understanding where you're at. Now, the average testosterone today, as I told you before, like the ones that I'm seeing on a consistent basis, they're somewhere around 200 to 300 for most men who come to me with the problem. Okay, 200 to 300. 300 is like the average testosterone today. Again, our ancestors 1,000 years ago were walking around with testosterone somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 to 1,500. Okay, so you can see it is an epidemic of low testosterone. Okay, we have plunged. Okay, so it's really important you first understand that. All right, so the average testosterone that I'm seeing today with a lot of males is somewhere around 200 to 300. That is the testosterone of a 97-year-old man. Okay, that's what the testosterone of a 97-year-old man should be. Okay, so it's really important to understand when you get that number back, your doctor could tell you that you're in a good, you're kind of okay. So if you come back and you get a testosterone of, let's say 400, okay, your doctor could say you're okay because you're not lower than 300. Okay, but for me, that is not optimal. For a 20 to 30-year-old, their testosterones, if they're healthy, is going to be somewhere between 600 and 1,000. That's for like a teenager and a 20-year-old, 30-year-old. Their testosterones are going to be somewhere between 600 and 1,000. Okay. Now, it's really important to understand that when my approach is don't treat the number, treat the patient. Okay. Because again, we're going to get into these causes in just a second, but the cause could be different. If you just treat the number by giving them testosterone injections, it may not fix the problem at all. And it actually won't fix the problem, because just simply injecting synthetic hormones into someone is not solving the problem. Okay. So it's hugely important to understand that. All right. And there are some tests that I'll give you. There's what's called a Dutch profile test. And I'll go a little bit in depth with that in just a second. But that Dutch profile test will give you a lot of knowledge on not just that number, but everything around that number as well too. Okay, so let's get into some of these signs and symptoms. Number one, when you have low testosterone, you're going to produce more fat on your body as a result of that. So more obesity, especially that weight around the waist. Okay, you're definitely going to see a lot of that weight concentrate around the waist. So whenever you have an imbalance and your testosterone is too low, you're going to notice that fat tissue goes up. Okay, now that's really, really important, and we'll explain why when I talk about the causes. Another sign and symptom of low testosterone is going to be low motivation. Now think about this. This is just a hormone, but all of a sudden you lose your motivation and focus in life, your drive, okay, as a result of having low testosterone. All right. Now just think about that. You got low testosterone, and now it leads to low motivation, low drive, which ultimately leads to our next sign, which could be depression. Okay, because as a result in life, we as men are always judged by our ability to provide. We're always judged by, what we accomplish in life. Now, whether or not we feed into that, that approval for somebody else or that judgment from somebody else, we always are going to judge ourselves. And that's the most important judgment there is. So if you're not motivated, if you don't have the drive in life, you're going to feel depressed. Okay, this is why this is one of the other signs and symptoms of low testosterone as well, and some other biological factors as well in the feedback loop of what happens when your testosterone lowers as well. So you're going to see these men, they're going to have their drive is going to plummet. Their motivation for things are going to plummet, which means that they're not going to be going after their goals. They're going to have less motivation to go to the gym, which is going to lead to muscle loss. So you're going to notice with people who have low testosterone, males who have low testosterone, they're not only going to have a lot of muscle loss, but it's going to be very difficult even if you go to the gym to actually build muscle. So if you go to the gym and you're working out hard and you still can't build muscle, it could be because you have low testosterone. You're also going to notice that they're going to have low sex drive. So that urge to have sex, the sex drive is going to plummet as well too. And which makes it worse because you're also going to have issues around erectile dysfunction as well too. All right. So you can see how just with these few symptoms, low motivation, low drive, low ambition, depression, low libido, erectile dysfunction, those symptoms alone can send a man into a depression. Okay. And that's just a few of them. And also what you're going to notice is as testosterone goes down, estrogen levels will go up, partially because of the body fat. Okay. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But you're going to see estrogen levels go up. You're also going to see a lot of the what is called sex hormone binding globulin hormone. So sex hormone binding globulin. I'm sorry. And what this does is it binds up all of your free testosterone. Okay. And as your free testosterone gets binded up, that is your active testosterone. That's the testosterone that actually elicits the activity of testosterone, okay, to help you build more muscle, to give you that motivation, to help with things like the next symptom, which is you don't have hair loss. You'll see a lot of hair loss on the body, an inability to grow a beard, okay? So if you're one of those males you're struggling with growing your beard, it could be because you have low testosterone as well too. All right. And so those are the signs and symptoms, just a few signs and symptoms that you have low testosterone. So if you go through the list and you see you have 2 to 3 or 4 of those, it is it's possible that you have low testosterone. So you definitely need to get it checked. And I tell all men, get your testosterone checked at your annual checkup every year. You need to know which direction you're going, or if you're holding tight, if you're in the therapeutic range, if you're dipping below therapeutic, you need to know it. Okay, so every year get your testosterone check. Because again, a lot of these signs and symptoms, low motivation, no drive, erectile dysfunction, a lot of times you can dismiss them and just say, hey, this is all in my brain. All right. So hugely important. Every year, get your testosterone check. And as I was saying earlier, go to your doctor, get a Dutch profile test. The reason why that's so important is because of this. With the Dutch profile test, you're not only going to just look at your total testosterone, you're going to look at how much free testosterone you have. That's what's most important, because your total number could be normal. You could have a testosterone of 500, but you may not have very little free testosterone, which means that you won't actually get the effect of testosterone to have a therapeutic effect on your body and your being. Okay, so you don't want to just look at that total number. And most of the times when you go to the doctor, they're just going to give you that total number. But you need to know your free testosterone levels. And not only that, you need to know how much of that sex hormone binding globulin you have as well too, because if you're producing too much of that, that's going to be binding up all of your free testosterone. So you won't even though you have a normal number, you will have all the signs and symptoms of somebody with low testosterone. So it's not just about what the total number is. Low testosterone is also about, do you have free testosterone as well too? All right. So let's get into these 9 causes, the 9 causes of why your testosterone is so low. Now, again, my mental approach to healing is the problem tells you the solution. Okay, the problem tells you the solution. Number 1, okay, and this is in no order of priority. Number 1, stress. Stress. If you're stressing a lot, stressing, no matter how you're stressed, physical stress in the form of like stressing your body out by maybe going too hard at the gym or going too hard in life in general. Maybe you're stressed out about work, whatever it is, stress will ramp up your cortisol. Okay. Cortisol is a stress hormone. All right. All of the hormones play on each other. So when one goes up, it could pull the other one down. And that's exactly what happens when you're producing too much cortisol in your body. Your cortisol will essentially blot out your ability to make testosterone because you're constantly making cortisol. So instead of making testosterone or having that balance, now you're making too much cortisol, which causes your testosterone to go down. Okay? So stress is really important. Nutrition. Nutrition is a huge factor, and here's why. The backbone of all sex hormones is healthy fat, okay? Most of us are not eating healthy fat. The healthy fat is the fat that you're getting from nuts and seeds, avocados, and things of that nature. It's not oils, okay? You can also get healthy fat from algae, okay? But getting healthy fat in your diet is hugely important, all right? And most people are getting a lot of unhealthy fat in the form of oils, especially seed oils, which are really unhealthy. All right, so nutrition is important from that standpoint. But also eating a lot of refined carbohydrates and sugar will lower your testosterone as well too. Okay, so nutrition plays a huge role. You want to make sure you're getting healthy fats in the diet, not eating all these refined carbohydrates and sugars. Okay, and eating a balanced, healthy diet full of plants, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Okay, which gives you the foundation to create these hormones. All right, so that's a huge factor. Obesity. Obesity is a huge factor, and let me explain why. The more body fat you have on your body, it produces an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase will start to convert your testosterone into estrogen. I'm going to repeat that because I know a lot of people don't understand how important this is. The more fat you have on your body, okay, it will create this enzyme called aromatase. This aromatase will start to take the testosterone that you do have and convert it into estrogen. Okay, so now you got estrogen going up in the body. This is why one of the signs and symptoms of low testosterone is gynecomastia or man boobs. Okay, it literally starts to feminize you. You start to lose body hair, get man boobs, etc. It's important that you know shifting your hormones can literally start to change your body's, not only its physiology, but it can start to change what you look like. Okay, so hugely important. This is why it's so important to start losing weight. You gotta lose that weight, get that body fat off, because again, it literally is taking your testosterone and converting it into estrogen. And that's not what you want, all right? Lack of exercise. One of the best things you can do to actually elevate your testosterone is resistance training, okay? Because you want to build muscle. The more you build muscle, now that actually increases your body ability to make more testosterone, okay? So working out, a sedentary lifestyle is going to lead you to low testosterone in many cases. And most of us have a sedentary lifestyle. We're simply just, sitting at a desk all day and then coming home and plopping down on the couch, but we got to live a life of movement, okay? Next one, poor sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, all right, and that good sleep could be because you work the graveyard shift. It could be because you're staying up all night watching television. It could be because you're eating too late, okay? It could be for a number of things, all right? It could be because you have sleep apnea. and you're not getting good sleep. All right. But in any case, poor sleep will lead to low testosterone because it increases cortisol. I told you the more cortisol we produce in our bodies is going to decrease our ability to make testosterone. Okay. Next thing is drinking too much alcohol. Okay. You drink too much alcohol, especially beer. That's why you get a beer belly when you drink beer. Okay. That beer belly is creating more yeast and also is producing more estrogen as well too. Okay. So hugely important, drinking too much alcohol as well too. The next one, smoking too much pot and cigars. Okay. This also will affect your body's ability to make testosterone as well too. Statin drugs. Okay. Statin drugs, drugs like atorvastatin, drugs like that are there to lower cholesterol. You got to remember what I said. The backbone of sex hormones like testosterone is cholesterol, okay? And our livers make the cholesterol at night when we're sleeping. So one of the side effects of taking a cholesterol lowering drug is that it could potentially lower your body's testosterone, okay? And a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people are on statin drugs. But it's hugely important to know if you're on a statin drug and you have low testosterone, it could be being caused by the statin itself, okay? The last thing is endocrine disruptors. A lot of these you're gonna see in hygienic products, cosmetic products, and some of your deodorants, your shampoos, your lotions, etc. But you're also going to see them on a lot of food when they spray them with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. The second most prevalent pesticide in the US is atrazine. Atrazine is an endocrine disruptor that will cause estrogen to rise in the body. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, which will have a lot of pesticides and herbicides and insecticides on them, if you're eating a lot of those processed foods, a lot of foods that have a lot of those pesticides on it, it could actually raise your estrogen levels as well. And when your estrogen levels go up, your testosterone levels are going to go down. Okay. Now I want to give you, talk about a little bit about a study before we get out of here, because now I gave you the sauce and now you know how to work backwards to get this balance back in your biology. Okay. They did a study on men who went to football games. All right. And what they did was they measured their testosterone before the game, and then they measured their testosterone after the game. And the weirdest results came out. The men whose team won, their testosterone levels went up. Okay? The men's whose teams lost, their testosterone levels went down. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm telling you that is I want you to understand how stress, that's a great sort of example of how stress, and this is a stress that we're not even thinking is a real stress. We're like just going to the game, having fun. But even a little minor stress like that can lower, your testosterone. So imagine what it's like when you have a cloud over you of stress, okay? And so one of the things that I tell men to do, and I do on a daily basis, if not multiple times a day, is meditation. Meditation has been shown to drop cortisol levels. Okay. And as I told you before, as cortisol levels go down, it increases the body's ability to actually make testosterone. Okay. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you did, comment below if it was helpful to you. And if you like this kind of content, I'll keep coming with it. All right. So until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.